The aluminum bat connects with a satisfying crack that echoes across Memorial Field in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, as 17-year-old Emma Rodriguez watches the softball sail over the left field fence. The crowd of 300 erupts in cheers, but Emma's eyes aren't on the scoreboard, they're fixed on the weathered woman in the front row. Tears streaming down her face as she clutches a faded black-and-white photograph. Gloria Mendel, 70 years old and barely 5 feet tall, has waited 60 years to see girls play ball on this very field where she was once banned from stepping foot. The state championship hangs in the balance. But something far more precious is being settled tonight, a debt of honor that spans generations. Connecting a forgotten pioneer to the young women who now swing freely under the Friday night lights. Emma rounds the bases thinking about the documentary project that started it all. The one that unearthed Gloria's buried story from the dusty archives of Cedar Rapids High 3 months ago. Nobody knew that the old lady who sold popcorn at the concession stand had once been the best ball player in 3 counties, forced to play in secret because girls weren't allowed on diamonds in 1954. Tonight, as Emma crosses home plate and points to Gloria in the stands, she's not just winning a game, she's completing a circle of justice that began when a stubborn farm girl refused to let anyone tell her she couldn't play. The roar of the crowd fades as we travel back 60 years, to a time when baseball was America's pastime, but only half of America was allowed to play. When dreams were measured not by talent, but by the length of your skirt. And when one girl's defiance would plant seeds that wouldn't bloom until her granddaughter's generation finally came of age. Hello my friends, before we continue our story, leave your like, share the story, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 1954, a town of 12,000 souls, nestled between cornfields and the Cedar River, where the biggest excitement came Friday nights, when the high school boys took the field under lights that could be seen for miles. The Mendel farm sat 3 miles outside town, a modest spread of 80 acres where Ray Mendel raised corn and soybeans with the help of his wife Martha and their only child, Gloria, who at 14 could throw a baseball harder than most boys her age. The farmhouse kitchen served as the unofficial headquarters for the Cedar Rapids Baseball League, where Ray coached the men's team and Martha kept the scorebooks. But their daughter's talents were considered nothing more than a curious anomaly. That girl's got an arm like a cannon, the men would say. Watching Gloria fire strikes to her father behind the barn, shame, she ain't a boy. The culture of Cedar Rapids in the 50s was as rigid as the Lutheran church services that booked every week, where men worked the fields and factories while women tended homes and raised children. Baseball was sacred masculine territory. A place where fathers passed down wisdom to sons, where boys became men through competition and sweat. Where the very idea of a girl taking the field was as foreign as speaking Chinese. Gloria's best friend, Betty Sue Patterson, spent her afternoons learning to bake pies and sew dresses, preparing for the inevitable future of marriage and motherhood that awaited every girl in town. Gloria, you gotta stop throwing that ball around and start acting like a lady, Betty Sue would plead, but Gloria couldn't understand why having long hair meant she couldn't have a long toss. The Mendel family had immigrated from Germany to generations earlier, bringing with them a stubborn streak and a belief that hard work could overcome any obstacle. Ray had played semi-pro ball before the war, and Martha had been a star basketball player in high school before such things were forgotten in marriage. But they'd never seen anything like their daughter's natural ability. Gloria could read a pitcher's wind up like a book, turn a double play with the fluid grace of a dancer, and hit line drives that made grown men shake their heads in amazement. She's got the gift, Ray would tell Martha as they watched Gloria practice alone in the pasture, but what's she supposed to do with it? The turning point came on a humid July evening when the Cedar Rapids Eagles were short a player for their game against the Burlington Bees. Gloria had been shagging flies during batting practice, as she did every week, when Eagles shortstop Tommy Kowalski twisted his ankle, sliding into second base. The team was desperate, facing their biggest rival with only 8 players. When Gloria stepped forward and asked the question that would change everything, "Coach, what if I played?" The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the sound of crickets chirping in the outfield grass. Ray Mendel looked at his daughter, then at the faces of the men who'd watched her play countless times, and made a decision that would divide the town for decades. That night, Gloria Mendel became the first girl to play organized baseball in Cedar Rapids history. Taking the field in her brother's old uniform with her hair tucked under a cap and her heart pounding like a jackhammer, she went to 4-3 with a stolen base and made a diving catch that saved the game, but the celebration was short-lived. By Sunday morning, the pastor was denouncing the spectacle from the pulpit. The school board was threatening to ban the team from using the field, and half the town was calling for Ray Mendel's resignation. "You've opened Pandora's box," Martha told her husband. But Gloria had tasted the freedom of the diamond, and there was no going back. The controversy split Cedar Rapids down the middle, with some folks defending Gloria's right to play, and others insisting that she was destroying the natural order of things. The local newspaper ran heated editorials on both sides, with headlines like "Girl Ballplayer Sparks Debate" and "Is This the End of Baseball as We Know It?" Gloria found herself at the center of a storm she never wanted. Just a farm girl who loved to play ball, but was suddenly the symbol of something much bigger. "I just want to play," she would tell reporters. But in 1954 America, wanting to play wasn't enough if you were born on the wrong side of the gender line. The pressure mounted with each passing week, as opposing teams threatened to forfeit rather than play against a girl, and the league officials scrambled to find a solution that would satisfy everyone. Gloria's teammates were divided. Some supported her because she made them better. Others resented the attention and controversy she brought to their simple game. "She's one of us," declared team captain Jake Morrison, but pitcher Billy Henderson muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Baseball's a man's game, and that's how it's supposed to stay." ****. The opportunity came disguised as an ultimatum when League President Harold Zimmer called an emergency meeting at the Cedar Rapids Community Center, where 200 angry citizens packed the room like sardines in a can. Gloria sat between her parents in the front row, her hands folded in her lap. As Zimmer outlined the compromise that would determine her fate, she could continue playing, but only if she formed an all-girls team to play in a separate league. "We're not trying to be unfair," Zimmer explained, mopping his brow with a handkerchief, "but we need to maintain the integrity of the game." Ray Mendel stood up slowly, his weathered hands gripping the back of his chair, and spoke words that would echo through the decades. "My daughter doesn't want special treatment. She wants equal treatment." The Mendel family faced impossible choices as the town's pressure mounted like a gathering storm. Martha worried about Gloria's reputation and future prospects, knowing that no boy in Cedar Rapids would want to marry a girl who played baseball, while Ray struggled between his pride in his daughter's abilities and his fear of destroying her social standing. "Maybe we should just let this blow over," Martha suggested during a tense family dinner. But Gloria looked up from her meatloaf and said quietly, "Mama, if I quit now, what does that tell every girl who comes after me?" The weight of that question settled over the kitchen like dust after a summer thunderstorm. The cultural barriers seemed insurmountable in a town where gender roles were as fixed as the constellations, where women were expected to be seen and not heard, where the very idea of female athletes was considered a contradiction in terms. Gloria's teachers at Cedar Rapids High began treating her differently, some with admiration and others with thinly veiled disapproval, while her female classmates divided into camps of support and jealousy. "You think you're better than us," sneered Dolores Clemmer, the homecoming queen, during lunch period. But Gloria just shrugged and said, "I think I'm different, and that's okay." The mentor figure emerged from an unexpected source when Eleanor Ellie Brennan, a 40-year-old widow who taught physical education at the elementary school, approached Gloria after church one Sunday. Ellie had played basketball in college back east before the war ended, such opportunities, and she recognized the fire in Gloria's eyes that comes from having a gift that the world doesn't want to acknowledge. "I've been watching you play," Ellie said, her voice low and urgent, "and I know what you're going through because I've been there too." Together, They began planning something that had never been attempted in Cedar Rapids, a girls' baseball team that would prove once and for all that talent knows no gender. The first taste of success came during an informal scrimmage against the junior varsity boys team, where Gloria's makeshift squad of farm girls and factory workers' daughters shocked everyone by holding their own against established players. Sally Kowalski, Tommy's younger sister, turned out to be a natural catcher with a rifle arm, while Mary Ellen Fisher could hit curveballs like she was born to it. "We might actually have something here," Ellie whispered to Gloria as they watched their teammates celebrate a hard-fought 7-6 victory. But the real test would come when they faced organized opposition with everything on the line. The pressure intensified as word spread beyond Cedar Rapids, attracting attention from newspapers in Des Moines and Chicago, where reporters descended on the town like locusts looking for a story. Gloria found herself thrust into the spotlight she never wanted, giving interviews about her radical ideas while trying to maintain her grades and help with the farm chores. "This is bigger than just baseball," one reporter told her, scribbling notes as she pitched batting practice. "You're challenging the very foundation of American sports." Gloria paused, the ball heavy in her hand, and replied, "I'm not challenging anything, I'm just trying to play the game I love." The decision point arrived when the newly formed Midwest Girls Baseball League offered Gloria's team a spot in their inaugural season. But the catch was that she would have to give up any hope of playing with the boys' team permanently. Standing on the pitcher's mound at Memorial Field, where her journey had begun, Gloria looked out at the empty stands and made a choice that would define not just her own future, but the future of every girl who would follow in her footsteps. "Sometimes," she told her father that night, "you have to walk away from what you want to create what you need." The summer of 1955 brought a grueling schedule that would test every assumption about girls' athletic abilities. As Gloria's Cedar Rapids Diamonds traveled across Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin in a converted school bus driven by Ellie Brennan, the training regimen was unlike anything small-town girls had experienced. 2-a-day practices under the scorching Midwest sun, strength training with hay bales and milk jugs, and endless hours of batting practice that left their hands blistered and raw. "If we're gonna prove we belong," Gloria told her teammates as they stretched in the pre-dawn darkness, "we gotta be twice as good as anyone expects us to be." The girls embraced the challenge with the determination of pioneers. Knowing that failure would set back the cause of women's athletics for decades, the academic pressure was relentless. As Gloria struggled to maintain her grades while traveling 2 games, 3 nights a week, and working on the farm every morning before school, her teachers at Cedar Rapids High were divided in their support, with some offering extra help and others seeming to hope she would fail and return to traditional feminine pursuits. "Baseball is a fine hobby," her home economics teacher, Mrs. Patterson, told her, "but you need to think about your future. What man wants to marry a girl who's more interested in sports than homemaking?" Gloria bit her tongue and focused on her algebra homework, knowing that her grades were as important as her batting average in proving that girls could excel in multiple areas. The social challenges were perhaps the most difficult. As Gloria navigated the complex world of teenage relationships while living under the microscope of public scrutiny, boys her age didn't know how to treat her. Some were intimidated by her athletic success, others resentful of the attention she received, and a few genuinely supportive of her groundbreaking efforts. "You're not like other girls," Jimmy Kowalski told her after a school dance, and Gloria wasn't sure if he meant it as a compliment or a criticism. Her friendships with other girls became strained as some accused her of seeking attention, while others wanted to bask in her. Reflected Glory, the physical obstacles mounted as the season progressed, with Gloria developing a persistent shoulder injury from overuse and the constant pressure to perform at an elite level. The team's limited budget meant no access to professional medical care, just ice packs and aspirin from the local pharmacy, while their equipment was a mixture of handmade and donations from sympathetic townspeople. "We're playing hurt, but we're still playing." Gloria gritted through clenched teeth as Ellie examined her swollen shoulder after a doubleheader in Milwaukee. where they'd faced their toughest competition yet against a team of college-age players. The competition throughout the Midwest was fierce, with teams from Chicago, Detroit, and Minneapolis featuring players who had been training for years in more established programs. Gloria's rural Iowa squad was clearly outmatched in terms of experience and resources, but they compensated with heart and determination that impressed even their harshest critics. "Those Cedar Rapids girls play like they've got something to prove," wrote a sports columnist from the Chicago Tribune, and maybe they do. Every game was a statement, every victory a small revolution, every loss a reminder of how far they still had to go. The support system that emerged was crucial to their survival, as families throughout Cedar Rapids rallied behind their daughter's unprecedented venture. Parents took turns driving the bus when Ellie couldn't make it. Mothers sewed uniforms and organized fundraisers. And fathers offered batting practice and coaching advice, despite their initial skepticism. "We're all in this together," Ray Mendel told the other parents at a Booster Club meeting, "and we're gonna see it through to the end." The community that had once been divided by Gloria's presence was slowly uniting behind her team's success. The rock-bottom moment came during a crucial game against the Detroit Daisies, when Gloria struck out with the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth inning, costing her team a shot at the league playoffs. The weight of everyone's expectations crashed down on her shoulders as she walked back to the dugout, tears streaming down her face, while jeers from the hostile crowd echoed in her ears. "You don't belong here," someone shouted from the stands, and for the first time since this journey began, Gloria wondered if they might be right. That night, alone in her hotel room, she seriously considered quitting baseball forever. Asterisk. The life-changing insight came not from victory, but from an unexpected source. Letter from a 12-year-old girl named Jennifer Walsh from Dubuque, who had been following Gloria's story in the newspaper and wanted to thank her for showing that girls could play baseball too. "My dad says I can't try out for Little League because I'm a girl," Jennifer wrote in careful cursive, "but seeing you play makes me think maybe someday I can." Gloria read the letter 3 times, sitting on her bed in the farmhouse where her journey had begun, and suddenly understood that her struggle was about more than just her own dreams. It was about opening doors for every girl who would come after. The community support reached a crescendo when the people of Cedar Rapids organized Gloria Mendel Day at Memorial Field, with over 2,000 fans turning out to honor their hometown hero and her trailblazing teammates. Local businesses donated prizes for a raffle. The high school band played "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and Mayor Henderson, who had initially opposed Gloria's participation, presented her with a key to the city. "This young lady has shown us that courage comes in all sizes," he told the crowd, "and that the American dream belongs to everyone willing to work for it." Gloria stood at home plate, overwhelmed by the sea of faces cheering for her, and realized that she had become something she never intended to be, a symbol of hope. The hidden strength revealed itself during a crucial doubleheader against the Milwaukee Marauders, when Gloria discovered that her greatest asset wasn't her arm or her bat, but her ability to inspire her teammates to perform beyond their perceived limitations. With the league championship on the line, she gathered her squad in the dugout and delivered the speech that would be remembered for decades. "We didn't come this far to come this far. We came this far to go all the way." The team responded with their best performance of the season, sweeping both games and clinching their spot in the championship series. The relationship between Gloria and Coach Ellie deepened as they navigated the final weeks of the season, with Ellie sharing stories of her own athletic dreams that had been cut short by societal expectations. "I see myself in you," Ellie told Gloria, as they walked the outfield grass after practice. "But you have chances I never had. Don't waste them." Their bond transcended the typical coach-player relationship, becoming a mentorship that would influence Gloria's approach to leadership for the rest of her life. "You're not just playing for yourself," Ellie reminded her. "You're playing for every girl who's ever been told she can't." The new strategy emerged from studying their opponent's weaknesses and playing to their own strengths. With Gloria learning to be more than just a power hitter, she became a master of situational hitting, aggressive base running, and strategic thinking that made her teammates better players. Baseball is a thinking person's game, she explained to a reporter. And we've learned to think faster than our opponents. The Cedar Rapids Diamonds transformed from a novelty act into a legitimate contender, earning respect through their performance. Rather than their pioneering status, the preparation montage for the championship series involved the entire town, with local businesses closing early so employees could attend practice, restaurants donating meals to the team, and the newspaper running daily features on each player's journey. Gloria found herself at the center of a movement that had grown far beyond her original dream of just playing baseball. "This is about more than winning or losing," she told her teammates during their final team meeting. "This is about proving that dreams don't have expiration dates, and that talent doesn't have a gender." The confidence that had been shaken by earlier setbacks was rebuilt through the accumulation of small victories and the unwavering support of her community. Standing on the mound before the championship game, Gloria looked into the stands and saw faces that represented every stage of her journey: her parents, her teammates, her coach, and hundreds of young girls who had come to see history in the making. "I belong here," she whispered to herself, and for the first time in 2 years, she truly believed it. The championship game against the Chicago Comets was played on a crisp October afternoon at Wrigley Field, where Major League legends had written baseball history, and now Gloria Mendel would attempt to add her own chapter to the story. The atmosphere was electric, with over 15,000 fans packing the iconic ballpark, including dozens of reporters from national newspapers and radio stations who had come to witness what many considered the most significant moment in women's sports history. Gloria stepped into the batter's box for the first time, her heart pounding as she looked up at the ivy-covered walls and the sea of faces, knowing that this moment would define not just her own legacy but the future of girls' athletics in America. The game unfolded like a classic baseball drama, with both teams trading runs and momentum shifts that kept the crowd on the edge of their seats. Gloria's teammates rose to the occasion, with Sally Kowalski throwing out 2 runners trying to steal second, and Mary Ellen Fisher driving in the go-ahead run with a clutch single in the 5th inning. The Chicago Comets were experienced and talented, led by pitcher Susan Firebale Martinez, who had struck out over 200 batters during the regular season. But the Cedar Rapids Diamonds matched them pitch for pitch, play for play, proving that heart and determination could compete with superior resources. The pivotal moment came in the bottom of the 8th inning, with the Diamonds trailing 4-3 and Gloria coming to the plate with 2 runners on base and 2 outs. The entire stadium fell silent as Martinez wound up and delivered a fastball that seemed to hang in the air forever. And Gloria's mind flashed back to all the hours of practice in the pasture behind her family's farm. All the criticism and doubt she had faced, all the little girls who were watching her at this moment. The crack of the bat echoed through Wrigley Field as the ball sailed toward the ivy-covered wall, and time seemed suspended as thousands of people held their breath. The ball cleared the wall by inches, a 3-run homer that gave the Diamonds a 6-4 lead and sent the crowd into a frenzy of cheers and applause that lasted for 10 minutes. Gloria rounded the bases with tears streaming down her face, pointing to the section where her parents sat with dozens of Cedar Rapids fans who had made the trip to Chicago, and she knew that this moment would be remembered long after the final out was recorded. "This is for every girl who's ever been told she can't," she shouted to the crowd as she crossed home plate, and the roar of approval that followed confirmed that her message had been received. The final inning was a bitter, with the Comets mounting a rally that brought the tying run to the plate with 2 outs. Gloria, who had moved to the pitcher's mound for the final frame, stared down Chicago's best hitter with the championship hanging in the balance, and delivered a that caught the outside corner for strike 3. The celebration that followed was pandemonium, with teammates and fans storming the field, reporters shoving microphones in Gloria's face, and photographers capturing images that would appear in newspapers across the country the next morning. The victory was complete and overwhelming, But more than that, it was transformative, not just for Gloria and her teammates, but for the entire landscape of women's athletics. As she held the championship trophy above her head, Gloria understood that this moment would ripple through generations, inspiring countless young girls to believe that they could achieve anything they set their minds to. The game had ended, but the movement had just begun, and the girl from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, had become the catalyst for a revolution that would change American sports forever. Standing at home plate after the final out, with confetti falling like snow and the crowd chanting her name, Gloria looked up at the sky and whispered a prayer of gratitude for the opportunity to be part of something bigger than herself. The championship was sweet, but the real victory was the knowledge that she had opened doors that could never be closed again. That she had proven that talent and determination mattered more than tradition and prejudice, and that the American dream was big enough to include everyone willing to chase it with their whole heart. The immediate aftermath of the championship brought a whirlwind of attention that Gloria had never imagined possible. With interview requests from national magazines, invitations to appear on television shows, and speaking engagements at schools and civic organizations across the Midwest, she returned to Cedar Rapids as a conquering hero, but also as a young woman who had grown up far too quickly under the pressure of being a symbol rather than just a teenager who loved to play baseball. The town threw a parade in her honor, with the entire team riding in convertibles down Main Street while thousands of people lined the sidewalks to celebrate their pioneering daughters. And for the first time in 2 years, Gloria felt the weight of expectations lift from her shoulders. The long-term impact of Gloria's breakthrough extended far beyond the baseball diamond. As colleges began offering athletic scholarships to female athletes and youth leagues slowly opened their doors to girls who had been watching from the sidelines. By 1960, there were over 50 girls' baseball teams in the Midwest, and by 1970, the passage of Title IX would guarantee equal opportunities for female athletes at every level of competition. Gloria went on to become a physical education teacher and coach, spending her career nurturing the next generation of female athletes. Always remembering the letter from 12-year-old Jennifer Walsh and the responsibility that came with being a pioneer, the life lessons learned through her journey became the foundation for everything Gloria did afterward. The importance of perseverance in the face of adversity, the power of community support, and the understanding that individual achievement is most meaningful when it opens doors for others. She never forgot the teammates who supported her, the coach who believed in her, and the parents who sacrificed so much to make her dreams possible. Success isn't just about winning, she would tell her students years later, it's about creating opportunities for the people who come after you. The character transformation was complete but subtle. As Gloria evolved from a farm girl who just wanted to play baseball into a woman who understood the broader implications of her actions and embraced the responsibility that came with being a role model, she learned to balance her competitive fire with wisdom, her individual ambition with collective responsibility, and her desire for personal achievement with the understanding that her story was part of a larger narrative about equality and opportunity. In America, the community of Cedar Rapids was forever changed by Gloria's story, becoming a place where young girls grew up believing that they could achieve anything they set their minds to, where the local high school retired her jersey number even though she never officially played for the boys' team, and where her legacy lived on in the dreams of every child who picked up a bat and ball in Memorial Field. The town that had once been divided by her presence became united in its pride, and the story of the girl who played in a skirt became the story of a community that learned to embrace change and possibility. The universal message that emerged from Gloria's journey was simple but profound: that courage is contagious, that one person's determination can change the world, and that the American dream is not limited by the circumstances of your birth, but expanded by the size of your heart and the strength of your will. Her story became a reminder that progress is not inevitable, but requires individuals willing to take risks, face criticism, and persist in the face of seemingly impossible odds, and that the most important victories are often the ones that make victory possible for others. 60 years later, as 70-year-old Gloria Mendel sits in the stands at Memorial Field, watching Emma Rodriguez round the bases, she knows that her story has come full circle from a lonely girl throwing baseballs in a pasture to a woman whose courage helped create a world where young girls can dream without limits, where talent is recognized regardless of gender, and where the crack of the bat still echoes with the promise that in America, anything is possible if you're willing to work for it and brave enough to believe in it.